government reiterated its support for President Bola Tinubu's administration, commending the government for guiding the country along a path of development tailored to its national conditions, according to a report sourced from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs China's website. The spokesperson for China's Foreign Ministry, Mao Ning, stated this at a press briefing today in Beijing. She noted that as Nigeria's strategic partner, China opposes any attempt by foreign powers to use religion or human rights as a pretext to meddle in another country's internal affairs or impose sanctions and military threats. You will recall that recently the US threatened Nigeria with possible military action due to the alleged persecution of Christians in the country. US President Donald Trump threatened to deploy military forces in Nigeria if the alleged genocide is not stopped by the country. Still on the world news at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM, the Medical and Health Workers Union of Nigeria has expressed deep concern over the deteriorating state of the nation's health sector, rising economic hardship, and the mass migration of healthcare professionals to developed countries. In a communique issued today at the end of its 51st regular National Executive Council meeting held in Abuja, the union called on the federal government and relevant stakeholders to take urgent and deliberate actions to save Nigeria's health system from total collapse. The communique, signed by the union's national president Kabiru Sani and Secretary General Awalu Kiyawa, was made available to journalists by the union. Nigeria is currently facing one of its worst brain drain crises as doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and laboratory scientists migrate abroad in search of better pay and working conditions. Lagos International Trade Fair Market on October 30. The agency said the team, led by its Director of Investigation and Enforcement and Chairman of the Federal Task Force, was carrying out routine regulatory enforcement aimed at curbing the sale of fake, substandard, and unwholesome products when the officers were attacked, according to the agency in a statement signed and released today by the Director General of NAFDAC, Mojisola Adeyeye. The operation commenced without incident until hired thugs armed with dangerous weapons disrupted the exercise and vandalized operational vehicles belonging to NAFDAC and other supporting security agencies. The statement noted that credible intelligence suggests that the assault was premeditated and targeted at harming senior NAFDAC officials, including the Director of Investigation and Enforcement. NAFDAC further alleged that the market's chief security officer ordered cluster leaders to lock all gates within the complex, cutting off the team's exit route at the peak of the attack. The agency said several cartons of counterfeit, banned and unwholesome products had already been intercepted, in line with the Counterfeit and Fake Drugs and Unwholesome Processed Food Miscellaneous Provisions Act Cap C34LFN 2004 before the disruption. It commended police and military personnel attached to the operation for their response in preventing casualties. Meanwhile, the plenary session of the House of Representatives today turned rowdy after members voted against some motions of urgent public importance which bordered on the protection of lives and key government assets. With the Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, presiding, the session became rowdy as members dissolved into a closed-door session to restore order. It all started when the member representing Shomolu Federal Constituency in Lagos State, Ademorin Kuye, drew the attention of his colleagues to what he called illegal allocation of lands within the Lagos International Trade Fair Complex and prayed the House to refer the matter to the Committee on Public Assets for investigation. Kuye, who is a member of the All Progressives Congress APC, is the chairman of the House Committee on Public Assets. Proposing an amendment to the prayers, Delta lawmaker and chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Francis Wave, argued that though the matter brought before the Green Chamber is urgent enough, the Committee on Commerce, not Public Assets, should be in charge of the investigation. Wave was supported by Akwa Ibom lawyer Mark lawmaker Mark Essett, who argued that it is the Committee on Commerce that should take responsibility on the matter. On the other hand, Yusuf Gagdi, representing Pangshin Kanke Kanam Federal Constituency in Plateau State, supported Kuye, stating that the Public Asset Committee should be allowed to take charge of investigating the allegation of illegal land sale and submit a report to the House. With no end to the back and forth argument in sight, Befui Gaza SDP in Nasarawa, on the advice of the Deputy Speaker, proposed the constitution of an ad hoc committee comprising members of both committees, which is the Public Asset and Commerce, to conduct the probe. When subjected to a voice vote, almost an equal number of lawmakers voted in support and against the motion. Not sure whose voices were louder, the Deputy Speaker gave it to the nays, sparking unrest in the chamber. Next on the order of urgent motions was Mohammed Bio, representing Baritan Kaima Federal Constituency in Kwara State. He lamented the worsening insecurity situation in his constituency and prayed the House to urge the military to establish a base in the crisis-prone areas to stem the tides of attacks. This time, more lawmakers voted against the motion, to the surprise of the Deputy Speaker, Carlo, and the Kwara State lawmaker. It became clear to the Deputy Speaker that members had resolved to frustrate the day's session owing to the rejection of Kuye's motion. So, when again voices thundered against Ayodeji Alao Akala's motion, which drew members' attention to the need to address Nigeria's description as a country of particular concern by the U.S. President, the Deputy Speaker allowed the motion to pass, forcing members to openly oppose the decision. Voices of dissent rent the chambers and the plenary was suspended for a closed-door session. You're still listening to World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We took a short break now and return with more stories. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. In a very tragic development, several villagers are feared dead, while many others remain missing following a suspected herdsman attack on Angule community in Oglewu, Ohimini local government area of Benue State. The attackers targeted farmers while they were working in their fields, killing several with machetes and other weapons. The assault has forced residents to flee their homes, seeking refuge in neighboring communities. We'll bring you more details on these developments as the situation unfolds. President Bola Tinubu has requested the Senate to screen and confirm Kingsley Tochukwu Ude, a senior advocate of Nigeria from Enugu State, as a minister in his cabinet. Senate President Godswill Akpabio read the letter on the floor of the Senate during plenary today. After the announcement, Akpabio referred the nomination to the Committee of the Whole for further consideration and subsequent screening. The development follows the resignation of former Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Uche Nnaji, from President Tinubu's government. Nnaji, who was the only minister from Enugu State in President Tinubu's administration, resigned last month over controversy trailing his certificate set to be obtained from the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, Enugu State, as well as the National Youth Service Corps NYSC discharge certificate. His resignation created a vacuum in President Tinubu's government and left Enugu State without a minister. In political matters, a high court in Oyo State has ordered the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and national chairman of the party, Umar Damagum, to go ahead with the national convention scheduled for November 15 in Ibadan. The presiding judge, A.L. Akintola, issued the order following an ex parte application filed by Folahon Malomo Adelabi. The court filed by Folahon Malamo, an aspirant for the position of Deputy National Organizing Secretary, ordered the PDP, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), and other respondents not to truncate, frustrate, disrupt, prevent, or stop the scheduled national convention. In a decisive pronouncement, Justice Akintola ordered INEC to deploy monitors and observers to the convention to ensure full compliance with electoral laws, thereby reinforcing the transparency and legitimacy of the exercise. The court also directed Umaru Amadu Fintiri, chairman of the National Convention Organizing Committee, to proceed with all arrangement relating to the exercise. The ruling is coming after an Abuja Federal High Court halted the National Convention. We'll take a short break and return with more stories and the banter session on the World News at 6. Stay with us.
Thank you for staying with us. This is still the World News right here in Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. The Economic Community of West African States has dismissed claims that terrorist attacks in Nigeria and other parts of West Africa are directed as Christians, insisting that victims of terrorism cut across all faiths. In what appeared to be a direct response to recent comments by the United States President Donald Trump, who alleged a Christian genocide in Nigeria and threatened military action, the regional body clarified that terrorist activities in the region do not discriminate on religious or ethnic grounds. In a statement on Monday, the ECOWAS Commission said extremist violence across the sub-region has affected Muslims, Christians, and adherents of other religions alike, stressing that the attackers' motives are not faith-based but rooted in destabilizing communities. Now, the Commission expressed concerns over what it described as attempts to distort the realities of the region's insecurity, warning that such misinformation could aggravate tensions and undermine peace efforts. ECOWAS firmly rejected the narratives of a religious genocide, describing it as false and dangerous. The organization noted that while the region continues to face terrorism and violent extremism, these acts are aimed at destabilizing states and not eliminating any particular religious group. The regional bloc urged the United Nations and international partners to support West African nations in their fight against terrorism rather than amplify divisive claims. Now, just very recently, the House of Reps had suspended plenary for 1 week following a massive protest by local contractors who barricaded the entrance to the National Assembly complex in Abuja over alleged non-payment for projects executed since 2024. This resolution followed a motion of urgent national importance moved by the minority leader, Kingsley Chinde, who expressed concerns over what he called the dire plight of the contractors. Chinde noted that the contractors demonstration stemmed from the federal government's failure to implement directives given by the president, instructing the ministers of finance and budget to release funds for completed projects. Now, in a very recent development as well, Barrister Aloy Ejimako, the special counsel to the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Kanu, has called for political settlement of the IPOB leader's case, saying that the matter has actually gone beyond what the judiciary can resolve. Addressing journalists recently in Abuja today after court proceedings, Ejimako said the prolonged situation of the case shows it is more political than legal. Ejimako went ahead to describe the situation as quite embarrassing. He argued that the case should no longer be confined to the wiggle room of a court of law, stressing that Nigeria's political leaders have ample room to resolve issues tied to political agitations. Let's take a very brief listen to Aloy Ejimako addressing the press in regards to that.
Based on today's proceedings, what did you observe and what is the way forward? Well, my observation is that let's keep in mind that 14th October this year made it 10 years that this case has been pending. That the matter has become too complicated for the judiciary to handle underscores our core point, that this matter is more political than legal. That this is a matter for the executive branch to settle with a political sleight of hand. It's not a matter to be offered to the limited wiggle room of a court of law, of the judiciary. There is a lot of wide berth, a lot of wide space left for politicians or political leaders of this country to resolve political issues that border on agitation. Why this one has become intractable is very, very, very disappointing. There's a thesis that has become intractable because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is an Igbo man. That thesis is becoming more and more valid by the day. So what is playing out in court now is nothing but the best evidence that this matter has gone beyond the province of judiciary and should be taken back, by the executive branch that started it anyway. There is no trial without prosecution. So it's the executive branch, the president, that triggered this through the office of the Attorney General. So the president can direct the Attorney General to take the case back to the table to see whether it should be resolved politically. But to try to resolve this case before the courts is becoming more and more impossible every day.
Is this a call for political intervention on this case?
Well, of course, everybody is calling for that. It's not throwing in the towel. What is wrong with calling with reconciliation when the courts of the land actually recognize it as well? Check out Section 17 of Federal High Court Act. It called on judges to seek reconciliation between litigants before them, including criminal cases. Section 174 of the Constitution empowered the Attorney General of the Federation to discontinue criminal prosecutions. So why should anybody say this matter should be resolved in courts when we have an alternative route of resolving it politically that appears to be easier and that would appear to be pleasing to everybody?
Okay, let's talk about the procedures today.
The procedure today?
The procedures today.
Okay.
What next?
I will yield to one of my colleagues to discuss that.
All right, that was Aloy Ejimakor reiterating for a political resolution to the case of Nnamdi Kanu. Due to time, we would have listened to Maxwell Okpara actually explaining the situation with not presenting any witness or opening a defense by Nnamdi Kanu. They clarified that it is not the fact that Nnamdi Kanu does not want legal representation. He is consulting with the lawyers, so the lawyers are consultants in the case, explaining the reason why Nnamdi Kanu feels there is no need to actually open a defense. We're looking into that later in the course of the evening rush. Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has requested the approval of the National Assembly for a fresh 1.15 trillion naira borrowing from the domestic debt market to help finance a deficit in the 2025 budget. The president's request was conveyed in a letter read on the floor of the Senate during plenary today. According to the letter, the proposed borrowing is intended to bridge the funding gap and ensure full implementation of government programs and projects under the 2025 fiscal plan. The Senate President subsequently referred the request to the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debt to report back within 1 week for further legislative action. Meanwhile, 25 out of 36 states This is considered a political change, a game changer. Nigeria is indeed maybe in a worrying shift towards a one-party system. There defection just pushed the APC's control to nearly 70% of states, with the APC now controlling nearly 70% of state governments. What does this mean for the 2027 presidential election? Now, the remaining opposition parties, you have APC occupying 25 states, PDP 8, APGA 1, Labour Party 1, and NPP 1. Tinubu, actually by other governors, have been disclosed to have everything he needs for a smooth sailing in 2027. The APC has disclosed no one should be deceived as the opposition remains in a deadlock. Chama Innocent, it's quite baffling that we have had some Nigerians having to defend the stance that there is indeed no genocide or religious genocide in the country. Chama, there is a genocide in Nigeria, whether Christians or Muslims. Ever since the APCE, whatever, have been pushing a certain narrative on social media by those who decide to be blunt and saying those who are blunt are not representing nationhood. They're not representing statehood. There's some persons who are calling the truth, want Nigeria to be disintegrated, want Nigerians to be burned down. Choma Innocent, the list of all the things the president wrote against Jonathan in 2014 was reeled out. In fact, the administration then, or the opposition then, which was the All Progressives Congress, really milked the situation. And now the APC is chastising the opposition, specifically Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar, for not representing nationhood, for not speaking up. Peter Obi said, indeed, the APC's incompetence is what has led to this situation, and that in time past, even before the declaration of Trump, or what Trump said, he had consistently insisted that the lackluster, nonchalant attitude of the government towards insecurity is very worrisome. Now, indeed, he admitted that insecurity did not start within this administration. But Choma Innocent, do you know that because of the supposed military invasion or whatever airstrike invasion, do you know that the president has decided to announce ambassadors? These set of persons have been pending for so long. There was no Nigerian ambassador to the United States of America all this while. So it took the president this situation with Trump to announce new ambassadors in designated countries of interest where there is no ambassador. This would have facilitated certain statements or propaganda, all right, that is, according to the government, they call it propaganda, that is supposedly smearing the image of Nigeria. Now, Dano Obala has been visiting several international media outlets, and according to him, he is clarifying the propaganda or the false data that the United States of America has. Yesterday, Dan Obala said the data that the US is using is outdated, the 2016 data, and according to him, he said IPOB is pushing this agenda. Choma, I want to take your mind back to 2014 when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then he was in opposition, Chief John Odige Oyegun, as well as Rotimi Amechi, who is now in the APC, a couple of them traveled to the US to meet John Kerry. They invited John Kerry to come to Nigeria. You recall at the time that the American government paused the sale of arms to Nigeria. Jonathan had to go get a private contractor to purchase weapons to destroy Boko Haram. And guess what, Choma? Even while the president was doing that, there were internal elements in his cabinet trying to frustrate that effort. They leaked out the secret when the jet got to the South African embassy, where the South African airport, the hard currency in dollars were in several bags. Do you know they alerted the South African authority? They actually detained that money. The contractor that they were supposed to buy the weapon from had to run away because he did not want to be seen as someone who was going to be selling arms to the Nigerian government via the black market, because the US refused to give access to the Nigerian government to purchase arms. It was not just the US actually influenced other nations from selling arms to Nigeria, saying that the Nigerian government or the Nigerian military was allowing the terrorists to have access to those arms. So Choma, tell me how you will say that it was supposedly, again, I'm not defending anybody, but is it wrong to actually outrightly call out the lackluster, incompetence, lack of empathy, and lack of conscionable effort by the government of the day in addressing insecurity? Is anything wrong in actually stipulating that is the truth? Choma, do you realize that because of that, you now have the Nigerian army showing us videos and pictures of their onslaught on Boko Haram enclaves and the release of some certain victims? It took the United States of America for the government to wake up from its deliberate slumber.
I noticed yesterday when the Nigerian army put out a statement on their verified Twitter platform saying they had rescued about 2 people from the clutches of kidnappers. The pictures that they showed that were supposed to be these people they rescued were pictures from 9 months ago.
9 months ago.
9 months ago.
Oh, it's not even recent. The Kogi story we saw yesterday.
I don't know about the story, right?
But it was yesterday. We saw it. It was all over media outlets.
They used to depict the people that they rescued were from 9 months ago. So that makes me very concerned about online propaganda, media propaganda.
Choma, why?
And if these efforts are actually, being undertaken to safeguard Nigerians. Yesterday I was online and somebody was tweeting in real time. Said Benue State is on fire. Ohimini is on. This thing that we're just reading now by 6 p.m. happened last night. I felt so helpless, Esther. I felt so helpless because even when you try to call on security agents, if you go online now, you will see the numbers of all the commissioners of police, of all the DPOs. They've called them. Nothing.
He said many feared dead.
Yes,
So it
sir,
was like the
nothing.
statement made by Trump just woke them up to, they're being brazen, they're
Nothing.
daring.
Let's not even talk about Sheikh Gumi, who is going across all different media platforms to say, "Oh, we should not be scaring them away. We should be negotiating with them." That man has not really.
He's still
told
saying
us.
that up till
He has
now.
not he said it on VOP TV yesterday morning. He also went to Arise, I think it was this morning or yesterday evening, to say the very same thing.
That we should negotiate
We
with the
should be
terrorists.
negotiating with these people. Let's not try to scare them away so that
And the Nigerian government is not investigating him.
Esther, I want to read a tweet to you that was put out by the handle Bola Ahmed Tinubu with a verified check mark and @official ABAT. This post was made on the 9th of September 2014 by 8:13 a.m. and he said, "The festering Boko Haram attacks on the northeast and massacre of innocent citizens is concrete proof that Nigeria has no government." Esther, one question I want to ask you is, can you make this statement about this particular administration and not be missing? All right then. For the next tweet, it was made on the 29th of January 2014 from the same handle, which is now Nigeria's president. 11 years ago, he said the slaughtering of Christian worshippers is strongly condemnable. It calls to question the competence of Jonathan to protect Nigerians. Again, I ask, can you make this statement right now about the current president in power and not be targeted by the DSS?
Not just
6
targeted
years
by
ago.
you, be silenced by the Irats.
6 years ago, the president was still doing his work of opposition. He's saying, why should any part of this country be under occupation? It's almost as if when he's in the opposition, he knew what to do. But now that he's there, maybe
And
he's
they don't
just
want
realizing that
anybody
it's
to
more
say the
complex.
truth.
And that's the most
Do you know
annoying
what?
part
Do you
for
know?
me.
Do you know what the supporters are claiming? That those who are blatantly saying the truth wants to disintegrate the country. That you choose your country first before you castigate the country.
If we
Choma,
love our
how
country,
do
we say
you
the
run?
truth about
How
our
do you
country.
run a country with divisive politics? Choma, there is acidic. This government infiltrated the polity with acidic hatred. Choma, you cannot tell me that the kind of disparity we're seeing, whether it's on social media or in real life, is not sponsored by this government. Starting from those who are working for this government. I thought I would have heard the president come out and say, Nigerians, let's collectively work together. I am representing all regions in this country, and I've always maintained that the supporters of this government are not doing this government any good. Choma,
I saw something very funny on Twitter. I remember I called you to speak about it. Here it is. This handle, Government of Nigeria, with a verified check mark and with the @Nigeria Gov, posted Kwankwaso's picture. And they wrote in Igbo that, oh, he's the presidential candidate of the NNPP in 2023, and he's telling the US that they should be helping us with updated technology to fight against terrorists and not threaten invasion. They posted that in Yoruba, they posted it in Igbo, they posted it in Hausa. When exactly did this administration start aligning with the opposition to that extent?
You can
And that's why
imagine.
we keep talking about propaganda will not do us any good. Yes, the
Choma, I'm
propaganda
even
is a tool
shocked.
of
I
war.
am surprised that the opposition are not taking advantage of this. And when I mean advantage, not to disintegrate the country, not to add more fuel, but to make a stand. Choma, Jonathan's administration, you need to see what these guys did. It's not a lie. It's almost like the opposition is afraid to stay on the opposing side. They need to be in alignment with the administration. Say the truth the way it is. There is a lack of political will to resolve
I
insecurity.
don't even know what we're scared of. Is this government afraid of being seen as incompetent?
No, Choma,
if you don't want to be seen as
no.
incompetent,
There is
then do
nothing
the
like
work.
being seen. The president promised us during his campaign, let's work with the president's promises. There was a lot of vacuum and weakness in the administration of late Muhammadu Buhari. Choma, there were killings during late Muhammadu Buhari's administration. A cow is considered more in terms of life and
valuable.
priority than human beings. It was so bad that even in the cities like this cows parade, people have to stop for these cows to pass. That's what the administration allowed. Mr. Lawai Kundai told me one day that right here in Lagos, because there was a jam, somebody's car hit one Malam's, cow. Do you know the driver had to be killed for that? During the administration of late Muhammadu Buhari. Chuma, let's put politics aside. If the administration does well, the people will clamor for them. It is the absolute truth. There is no need to mince words. There is no need to play second fiddle. There's no need to hide behind anything. And I don't understand why they think they need to marinate the truth with a facade of false propaganda information. What is the truth, Choma? There is endemic insecurity in the country, growing steadily by the day, seems to be supported by certain elements in government, making it seem like our security apparatus is weak to defeat it.
And because the
you cannot tell me, Choma, you cannot tell me that
in
in broad daylight there are videos of our governors, of our security agents liaising with terrorists in their full regalia of arms. Choma, who is supplying them with AK-47? Do you know, one day I saw a video of some of our military vehicles, armored vehicles. These individuals of darkness were literally displaying how they have apprehended those vehicles. About 8 of them, they took a video they took it like a pan. They panned it. What are we saying? Exactly what are we saying? Why can't we be honest and tell the US we appreciate you? Because ideally, in reality, the US cannot invade Nigeria. It's not even possible for them to do that. But this is a wake-up call on the government. President Donald Trump of the US tweeted, "Disgraced Nigeria." Do you know what that means? Nigeria, one of the most populated African country. Do you see the battles we fought in ECOWAS? Go and read about Nigeria's impute in ECOWAS. Our military was feared. You don't joke with our military. Now we're like a ridicule. The politics is so much that the life and property of people is not considered real. Choma, there is nothing to hide about it. Nobody is disintegrating the nation. If the government decides to prioritize the interest of its people, Choma, the people would collaborate and resonate with one voice with the government.
And that is even what the people want. One thing I see with many Nigerians that call us, many times when we talk politics, you realize that people don't even care who is in power. They just want to know that whoever is in power is working towards their own good. It's very annoying, when we are unable to really speak the way we want to, because tomorrow you might get a message and say, "Oh, you're trying to incite the people." We're not trying to incite the people. We are trying to speak truth to power. We're trying to make sure that you know what's happening to us. Esther, if you don't experience this, we're just talking about it and we're reading out numbers. 5 people died, 10 people died. They seem like statistics to us. But Esther, you're probably living your dream right now in the career that you love.
Shoma, it's not
there are
about
people
dream.
who have ambitions.
Shoma,
These are people who have goals.
I
who woke up in the morning and pray to God.
I schooled in the north. I experienced the Jos crisis in 2002 thereabout. I couldn't go to school for 3 months. You needed to see how Jos was at the time. That was under the administration of former President Obasanjo. He declared a state of emergency in Jos, Plateau State. I've forgotten the governor, whether it's Jonah Dang or Governor Darie, one of them. He declared a state of emergency in Plateau State. Now, the president has decided to declare a state of emergency on military institutions. So he just realized that he needed to declare a state of emergency on military institutions. How does that place the president? How does that place the administration? Do you know what it takes for us to hear that there was a vacuum in the president's closed security circuit? That there was a supposed alleged planned whatever. I don't want to mention it because Bayo Nanoga has come out to actually debunk that nothing like that happened, that it's the press that is amplifying it. Choma, the press cannot say things as they are because they say our job is to create a sense of calm and unity. That because we supposedly are the pulse of the nation, we cannot create chaos or disarray.
We cannot come here and lie to the people.
The thing is, at a certain level, at a certain point, things need to be said the way they are. Now we're having a situation where any conversation you have and say that is the truth is termed as 2027 political agenda. Choma, just 3 days ago, these guys were asking Peter Obi and Atiku to speak. Is Peter Obi a president? He's a private individual. Yes, he's a politician. Yes, indeed, he campaigned in 2023. What would his statement or utterance, what difference will it make? How would it help the situation? How would it help with insecurity? And then he eventually spoke, but these guys kept making derogatory statements.
They still twisted it and said he's happy about what's happening to the
because he kept quiet. How was the president when he was in opposition? When the Chibok situation happened? When President Obama at the time with his wife put out hashtag bring back our girls, almost all the White House attendants were putting hashtag bring back our girls. Jonathan had to go get mercenaries to rout out these individuals. And do you know what? When former President Muhammadu Buhari came on board, he dispersed those guys. And they were really making inroads. Now, for a governor to tell you that they know the enclaves of those guys, all he needs is just the authority to ask the military to go clear them out. If a governor knows, does that not tell you something, Choma? Does that not tell you the vacuum within our military? I'm not saying our military is not trying. I'm not saying they are not trying. Choma, have you looked at the budget for the Nigerian military? Have you looked at the budget, how much is designated for security in Nigeria, to the extent that other vital sectors as health, education, and social welfare is at the back burner? They designate so much money for that unit, for that department, yet insecurity remains at a pulsating crescendo. What is there to say it as it is? If you prioritize the life of the people, no one is going to agitate. No one is going to speak against you. No one is going to criticize your government. I'm not saying that the president is perfect or being a president of a peculiar multicultural country like Nigeria is easy. This is just his second year and there is no magic or miracle. But there is your body language, your aura, your action depicts that indeed the wherewithal and the will and the zeal is there to deal with this. Do you think that the president ought not to have declared a state of emergency in Plateau and Benue state all this while? The state of emergency declared on the military institutions. Why did it take the president so long to do that? When you realize that for 2 years, insecurity became on the rise, they've entered the West, it is then you decided to change all your chief of defense staff, your chief of naval staff, and your air force. What are we talking about? Yesterday on Evening Rush, a retired police officer called and said they do not have material, they do not have the weapons to fight, despite the money allocated to them.
There was a video posted yesterday on how the Nigerian military is trying to fight insecurity, our ground troops, and you could see them, they were trying to move these weapons. It's not something that one can carry. And Nigerians who know about weapons were like, this is a 1962 Russian weapon. To fight against terrorists that have sophisticated military-grade weapons, terrorists that are flying drones, people that cannot speak English, but they know how to fly
That's
drones.
why Trump was angry. He said he's going to cut out aid because some of the weapons that they supply Nigeria is being seen in the hands of these terrorists. Now, let's look at the situation or the fact that we are having the APC occupying basically 70% of the states.
They want 25 local government seats in Niger State from the Saturday local government elections.
This Saturday,
all the 25 local government seats
APC.
in Niger State, APC, then I think it's about maybe 271 wards or so. Then they want 270, only one that they did not win. It reminds me so much of the Lagos State local government elections on July 12. Where they want everything. It's a bit like film. Everything except just one seat in Yaba that the PDP won.
I think they just even allowed that one.
My own question remains: this opposition is not opposition in the way the
I'm telling you.
oppositioned.
I'm telling
it's as
you.
if they are scared of something.
They are really scared.
Making it so easy for the APC. All they do is talk.
Just
talk.
talk like babies. I write to the government, you need to stop this, stop borrowing. That's all they do.
It's almost like a slap on the wrist, like, oh, stop it.
Stop it, I like it. That's what it is. Stop it, I like it. Because I cannot understand how you are an opposition and you're afraid of how the supporters of the government will term you.
We understand that there will be times when, they will need to align, maybe when they meet at weddings, funerals and all. But when it comes to politics, you're supposed to give them hot.
Shoma,
Is it
what
the media
keeps,
that teaching
what
the
keeps
opposition
the
how to
government
opposition?
on their toes is how opposition keeps them hot on their
Do you
seats.
think they're scared of the president's media team? Because those people, they sabi.
Have you gone to Twitter? Have you gone to X? When it comes to using media, trust me, APC knows how to use it. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu knows how to use the media to his advantage. How they are doing it, I don't know. You see several bot accounts. They will swarm on you. Like, if you as an opposition too, you're not sponsoring people to be countering everything they do. You're even supposed to be the first person to tweet and let you have others tweet. These guys will tweet. You will see the flooding of the timeline.
Is the opposition, they're not ready to go the way that these people are going.
Shoma,
They're
how
not ready to
the
invest
politics,
their money
the politics in
and their
Nigeria is barbaric, is brutal. You cannot give it a slap on the wrist without being brutal as well. The current government is not sitting on a comfortable plush of a seat. They are going hard on. They are acting like the opposition themselves.
And if you ask me, Trump has made the work of the opposition easier. They're supposed to just, take it from where
They will say
Trump
you want to
stops.
burn down the country because you did not win the 2023 elections. That's precisely what they will
When
tell you.
the APC was doing its own, were they accused of trying to burn down the country? I think it boils down to the kind of president we have in power, the kind of administration, that's been run. Because when Jonathan was there too, he was trying to please everybody. He was trying to maintain peace with all men.
Jonathan was railroaded. He was afraid.
He talked about
was scared.
how Obama supported the opposition.
I just
And
told you,
some
that was the
Nigerians are saying
plan.
now- Some Nigerians are saying now that, look, Trump will not back the APC in 2027. And so they may not
We
win.
don't, to be honest with you, we don't need any international power to back APC or back anybody to win elections. Most times what those governments do is institute a level of interest. For Trump right now, he doesn't care because after now, he's not coming back again. For Obama, he needed to come back the second time. And they usually do this when they're bored, to be honest with you. This supposed country that has power, whatever, they try to create a sense of destabilization to make their government seem like they're working. But at this point in time, I don't know if anyone will say the US is interested in our resources. I saw a video of an Albanian mining our gold somewhere in Niger State or Zamfara. Only him, and he had military and security attached to him. There was a video showing him mining our gold. So I
Will
think
you tell me the people around there don't know about it?
they know
Or the
that
security
if you
agents don't
notice
know
that
about it?
areas that have good resources, they make that place unstable. That's what they deliberately do. I even thank God that most of the states that have oil, like Rivers, Delta, Bayelsa, and Port Harcourt, those states, that they have not created chaos in those states. What they do is any state that has good resources, they create chaos. Imo State, you're seeing what happened. Apparently, it was found that Imo State has one of the deepest, highest gas reserves. And they needed to, I don't know what they're doing with the gas, but they don't want anyone to know or the people there to profit from it, or they want to siphon it, we don't know. But go to Imo State, you can see the chaos being created there. You can see the chaos there. Benue State is, you call it the food basket of the nation, literally. But you can see what's happening in Benue State. So when you stunt resources from getting to the people, it's very easy for you to take it over. So you can't tell me the government does not have their intelligence. I remember the question was asked, where are the 400 list
Nigerians
from
are
the
still
UAE
asking till
up
tomorrow.
till today? The other time, the APC told us that they are going through some prosecution cases. They are still prosecuting them. That maybe at some point they will release the names. The only thing, Chirma, that will resuscitate Nigerians' trust in this government is when they begin to become accountable and transparent in their dealings.
Now, when they begin to become proactive and work towards the good of Nigerians,
Precisely.
and not just tell people that I'm working for you. Imagine when somebody is hungry, dying of hunger, and you keep telling the person you're cooking for 2 years. What did they cook when never done? What did they cook since? When never done, even if not stone. So Nigerians just want to be happy and healthy. Many times you go online, you be, oh, Nigerians are non-serious people. We know how to cope. We
Chuma,
are coping out of. We don't know what else to do.
During my first year, we did political science, mass comm department, University of Lagos. That was during my BSc. And one of my political science teachers said, Nigeria is a sweet country and the people are so easy to rule. Just provide them the basic amenities, food, good water, shelter. That's all. They will hustle and make, that's all you need to do. Just give them food, water, electricity, and enabling working
jobs.
Environment and jobs.
Let there be light.
In fact, they will create the jobs themselves. Just give them the facility to ensure that the work is smooth. Trust me, Choma, you're good to go. Nobody has time. They just want to survive, take care of their homes, feed their family, and flanger. Why is that difficult for the government to actually make that happen? Now we're hearing the government for more borrowing, 1 trillion. What about all the monies you borrowed? What have you used it to do?
They still borrow some last week from World Bank, and those ones too, they come and collect.
Now
Take
you
it
have
away.
the National Assembly is basically pervaded by the ruling party, so they obviously cannot contest anything that comes from the executive. One would say we miss the days of Saraki. That was when we saw some beautiful drama in the National Assembly. I recall at the time, late Muhammadu Buhari came to present the budget during Saraki's period, and they were booing him. Like they were booing the president at the time. I had never experienced that in my course, or will I say when I became mentally aware of what's going on in my environment, that in a democratic dispensation, you saw the Senate, they were booing the president at the time. That was during his first
The
term.
organs of government are equally independent and can do their own things without external interference. Right now, a lot of political analysts will tell you that the legislature is in the pocket of the executive and the judiciary is also in the pocket of the executive. That's what many Nigerians feel. That's what many of our political political analysts come here to
To
say?
say.
And can you actually blame them when they say such? Sometimes you will hear of the motions of urgent importance that is put out on the floor of the Senate. They know we approve them. You know, we hear any I. But when they want to share SUV,
or prayers in their
and
bank
they know
accounts.
how to use latest cars. Even the ones that claim that, I'm in the opposition. Oh, no, everybody look eyes right when it's time to work towards the good of Nigerians. It's just sad.
Choma, I just feel that the APC shouldn't see Trump's statement as a threat. They should see it as an opportunity for them to actually wake up from their deliberate slumber, decide to recalibrate their strategy in organizing themselves where they are, and institute a priority of concern. The priority of concern is the Nigerian people. I would also encourage President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to stop listening to his sycophants, because he has sycophants who surround him. I feel that they don't tell him the truth. No, because I want to believe that since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is experienced, educated, a Democrat, somebody who fought for democracy, someone who was majorly one of the persons who actually fought for the independence of local government in this country when he was governor of Lagos State, someone who literally was fighting with the federal government at the time and proved to President Obasanjo that without your FAC allocation or whatever, Lagos State will thrive. Former President Obasanjo refused to recognize the 37 LCDAs, even though a couple of persons felt it was unconstitutional or whatever. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu disputed his narrative, decided to create those 37 LCDAs, and they were able to channel funds to them, despite limited funds coming onto the 20 local governments that were supposedly recognized by the Nigerian government. So, in other words, if you were this vehement, if you were like this as a governor, I want that spirit and that spine and that will to come back and stop listening to those who are with you, who are sycophants. You have media aides who refuse to speak on your behalf. Can you imagine Bola telling us that it was IPOB that caused this conversation, that it was IPOB in 2016 that gave false data? How can you begin to blame an organization for the reality of the fact that you are plagued with insecurity because of your deliberate nonchalance? How can you give that excuse on national television, and then you're going to Russian media, you're going to the US media, you're also attending several podcasts internationally to give a sense of the fact that your government is good? It's not that. We want to see action. We want to see deliberate efforts to actually utilize a state of unity in the country and rout out these individuals. There are pictures, Choma, gory videos of children, babies being hacked, macheted like animals. That was the evidence that was brought out. So I feel that this should be like a wake-up call, and they shouldn't see it as anybody coming to destabilize them. If they are asking for military collaboration with the United States of America, there should be concerted effort to ensure that nothing is leaked to the terrorists, because that's what one of the American units said, that they usually leak information to these terrorists. If you listen to a legal practitioner on Channels Television 2 nights ago, that's what he said. That's what he stated, that the reason why they don't trust the Nigerian military is that information is usually being leaked to these terrorists. That's basically what we should actually call for.
It's very unfortunate. It seems it's always easier to talk when you're on the other side of the divide. Well, right now, Emiloko. So, I mean, let's continue to watch. But we really cannot continue
it should be our local
and see.
It should be our local. What's our
die.
local? What's the interpretation for our
It's
local?
our turn.
Exactly. It should
the
be our
turn
turn.
of
All Nigerians, precisely.
It should be the turn of all Nigerians. Nobody should be left behind.
Exactly.
And we cannot continue to sit and watch while innocent blood is spilled on this country. Esther, I feel so superstitious whenever I say this. I feel like it's a lot of innocent blood on the Nigerian soil.
And you think the blood is what is speaking out?
So difficult.
It's too much.
Nigerians.
You need to go to northern Nigeria. You need to go to in fact, Choma, the situation in the southeast, I feel that the governors need to wake up as well.
Esther, I saw a place where I used to go to as a young girl. That's also in Imo State.
Yeah.
There's this particular market they call ECOWAS. It was at that Eke that they went to plant IUD one time. That was the conversation we were having then. Before the police
Is it the
got
one
to
of the
scene,
woman? Is it the one that the woman stepped on?
Before the police got to the scene, they said they got intelligence that he was suspected IPOB ESN.
Very easy for them to tag.
That planted it. I read that news and I felt so pain, because from Eke Baheze to a family house then was like, not reach 10 minutes if I use bicycle.
It's quite unfortunate,
It's very sad.
But we need to wrap off the world news at 6. We have the evening rush coming up, and we also have an opportunity to discuss more of these issues and get reactions of Nigerians. My name is Esther Wachuku.
And my name is Chioma Innocence. Good evening and thank you for listening.
Oh, before we go, I will be having Omoyele Shore live. Hopefully, he comes in tomorrow by 6 p.m. right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. He'll be joining us live tomorrow. So I would expect that we are
I would like to ask him about his presidential ambition in 2027.
Do you know what Shore said? I want to even ask him. Shore said, if I was the one that won elections, nobody would steal it from me. He said he doesn't care. All of us will lose if you steal my election. I don't know if that was a mockery to whoever, but that's what he said. Actually, have that video. These are the questions we're going to ask. And basically, his reaction to certain issues. He's always very brazen, and he has always been very outspoken. And then we'll look at a way to resolve some of the quagmire. Possibly the recommendations he will state, the government of the day will listen to it, and it can be implemented. A couple of people see him as a rascal, someone who thrives in chaos. So we're going to be discussing that as well tomorrow, because the APC, specifically Babayo Onanuga, has termed him an anarchist, one who thrives in chaos, one who loves to
professional protester.
Whatever. We're going to have all those statements here, and he needs to clarify all of that and how he's been dealing, because he has tons of court cases, and then give us examples precisely of the whole Nnamdi Kanu protest. Barrister Darlington feels there was no need for that protest, that the protest did not help the situation, rather worsened Nnamdi Kanu's case. We're going to ask all of that question to Omoyele Shorere tomorrow evening, hopefully by 6 or past 6 or about. We pray that he's able to make it. Do have yourself a wonderful evening. Bye for now.
Stay tuned for the evening rush at 7 p.m.